Hey, Tafadzo from Creative Hub Films here. Today we format our script. Last week we started our screenwriting journey by discussing the 3-act structure. Today what we're going to go over is how to format your script. By the end of this video, you should know how to format your screenplay to the industry standard so that anyone else you're collaborating on your movie with can read and understand your story and also know how to execute the vision you have. Film is, after all, a collaborative endeavor. You want your actors to be able to read the script and understand it. You want your crew members to also read and understand exactly what it is that you're shooting. And in case you're not directing the film yourself, you want the director to understand the story that you've envisioned as the writer. Although my videos are targeted at people like myself who are directing the scripts that they write, we are talking about micro-budget stuff after all. Now, there's plenty of screenwriting software that exists out there in the world that will help you to just format your script as you're writing. After all, the idea is for you to be able to just be creative without worrying about formatting your script. But of course, these are not free. I personally use Final Draft, which is the industry standard, but that's going to set you back about $200 US. There are a couple of free alternatives out there. I used to use Celtics until they became cloud-based and I don't always have internet all the time, so yeah. In this video, I'm assuming that for whatever reason, you don't have access to screenwriting software and you're using something basic like a Microsoft Word. Now, before we continue with the video, I'd just like to remind everyone that we have a target on this channel to reach 1,000 subscribers. After reaching 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to release my feature film right here on this channel for the whole world to see. So please guys, let your friends know, share the channel link, get your friends to subscribe, get your family members to subscribe, get anyone you know to subscribe on the channel so we reach 1,000 subscribers. We can do it guys, I know we can. Screenplays are written using the Courier font, size 12. Courier is a fixed pitch font, which basically just means that the characters and the spaces have the same width, which allows for standardization. And without getting into too much detail, what we mean by this is that we can then have standards such as the rule that about a page on a screenplay is equals to a minute of screen time. So a 90-page screenplay is equals to a 90-page film. But of course, this isn't like a hard and fast rule. It'll differ depending on your genre, depending on how much dialogue you have in your script, depending on how much action you have in your script, and many other factors that are just too numerous to mention at this point. A scene begins with a scene heading or a slug line. This is written all in capitals, and some writers like to make this bold so that it's easier to read off the page. But what a scene heading or slug line does is it just allows the reader to know the setting in which the scene is in. A slug line gives the reader the location and the time in which the scene occurs. We'll use this sample I wrote to demonstrate. So the first part of your slug line indicates whether you're indoors or outdoors. Int for interior, ext for exterior. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Special cases are made for moving vehicles, which are usually indicated as int/ext since the scene is inside a car but it's moving outside there in the world. The second part of your slug line shows where the scene takes place. In this case, it's in an office of some sort. The third part of your slug line indicates the time in which the scene takes place. This is usually indicated by day or night. If the scene is set at the same time as the previous scene, you can write continuous, but I prefer to just be safe and write day or night. After your scene heading come your action lines. What these do is just describe what is going on in the scene. The key here is to use visual language. You don't want to be caught up in flowery descriptive prose like you would find in a poem or a novel. The first time a character appears in a scene, in your description, you write their name in all capitals. After that, you just continue just capitalizing the first letter of their name as you would in ordinary writing. Action lines are left aligned on your page. Dialogue comes next, and this is pretty simple formatting wise. You begin with the name of the character speaking the dialogue, written in all caps and center aligned, followed by the words they speak, also center aligned, but of course not capitalized, just written normally. Now let's get a little bit fancy with extensions. These go beside the character's name to show how the dialogue is heard. For example, OS indicates that they're off screen. They could be in the same room as another character speaking, but we're just hearing their voice off the screen. We can't see them yet, which is not to be confused with VO, which indicates a voiceover. This is when your character is speaking over what is happening in your scene. A typical example is those comedies that start with like a record scratch,
which is followed by a voiceover of a guy saying something like, "Yeah, that's me." The guy trying to make a record scratch sound effect with his own mouth instead of just downloading one from the internet like a normal person would. You may be asking yourself, how did I get here? Well, it's a long story.
The same can be done for devices. For example, if the person is speaking into the phone, you write beside their name, into phone, or over the radio, and so on and so forth. Now, extensions are not to be confused with parentheticals, which comes from parentheses. It's a fancy word for brackets. Parentheticals indicate how a character speaks. In the case of Tafadzwa in our script here, it's sheepish. All that extra fluff I wrote, that's really just an indication of my weird style of writing. Just the word sheepishly would have worked right there. Parentheticals are also center aligned and go between the character's name and their dialogue. Now that you know the basics of formatting a script, I'll let you get back to writing that screenplay. Next week, we're going to be discussing what you do when you finished writing that first draft of your script. So that was a short video. I had to kind of rush things because there's no power and I'm recording with as much battery as I have left on my various devices. Let me know what you think of the look doing this during the daytime. Who knows, maybe this is something we might stick with for future videos rather than trying to record at night.